So hello, I'm finally able to sit down to do this recording after trying a couple of times before. I'd be happy to share you the first one, which was really very nicely done, but did not have any audio. You couldn't hear me actually giving you any information, but it was good for me to practice, I guess, and I didn't get a chance to get onto this at all on Thursday, but I've got now the content that I wanted to share with you in regards to your next conducting experience with left hand, actually. So the two areas of focus will be to use the left hand to shape the phrase, and the second one will be to look at some cueing ideas. So the first thing, looking at shaping a phrase, and these will have applications in your exercises for Wednesday. We'll be meeting at the regular time on Wednesday, 3 o'clock for our next class. Certainly you should create an appointment again with me for next week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and those appointment slots will be up soon. So first of all, when we're looking at shaping a phrase with the left hand, a lot of times, and what you've already experienced with the beginning conducting class, is to create the contour, right? To be able to contour and up and down. And a lot of times we look at maybe starting with an open hand, and as we go up and then turn and then come down, that kind of thing. What I'd like you to consider in this class is the way to shape the phrase and show the high point of the phrase, so that there's going to be something in your shape that has a goal note, and to deliver a certain kind of motion that helps the players know that you've achieved that. Sometimes that will actually deserve a tenuto, and that is a further gesture then to make sure that they know how to press into that. But for the most part, what you'll be doing is just simply taking it as it comes up. I'll try to get it on the right side of my face so that it comes up, and then when you get to the point that you can actually push and then come down. Or if you're traveling across, and then push and then come down. That kind of effort. And I can codify that more for you in the private lesson, but showing where that high point is. Sometimes there's even an accent along those lines, and then it's even easier, right? So that you come up, and then you can actually show that accent as you move into the goal note. So that's the first thing. And the examples that are going to help you work on that are Come Sweet Death of Bach, and then also the Mahler Symphony Number 3, the last movement of that, which is in chapter 5. But let's take a look at the Come Sweet Death first. So as this one is going to come up, still a gentle 3, with insistency between the beats as you work through the timing of the right hand. And that can also assist the crescendo with extra motion as well, and extra distance. So, lee, dum, dee, da, dee, dee, dum, dee, da, dum. But assisting now with the left hand so that you can come into it. 1, 2, 3, and there, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. So I've got to do a little bit of something with the camera so that you can see what is going on. It's not going to be up that high and kind of in this downward motion, but I'd have to be doing something really weird with my hand. But you get the idea of if you're coming upwards, and then that goal note showing the high note of the phrase dynamic. Same thing with the Mahler, but now there'll be another opportunity here for you to do something that you may not have done particularly directly before. And that is the use of mirroring. So once the phrase especially has developed within a long crescendo, and you've been able to assist the players in getting it started by maybe just the right hand getting more, and then adding more intensity with the left hand, and then at some point it just becomes so big that you have to use both hands to make it work. That's what goes on here with the Mahler. So I'd like you to start with just the right hand only, and then you're going to add in the left hand to assist the crescendo, maybe within the second sub-phrase, like in measure 7. So you get this kind of thing. La dee da dee da 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 dee dum dee dum dee da dee da 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 dee da da dum dee da dee da dum bum 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 bum. So the left hand comes in to assist the crescendo, and then when it gets to be such of an impactful thing that you need both hands, go ahead and do that. Also, you'll notice that there's accents that start to come into play in bar 5, and now that's another reason that your left hand is coming in to show the accent, but it's also then doubling the impact of the dynamic as it gets bigger. The last one in here is the Salvation is Created of Chesnikov. This is exercise 5-1. This kind of gets back into the same principle as the Mahler, where it's now moving through a gradual crescendo and then into something that's pretty big. But I don't know that it's so big to actually mirror through this one. So this is just another example of now being able to take a longer time to create a dynamic that's going to keep going, and you have to move even slower so that it's a big move. So opening is just simply do, dum, dee, da, dum, dee, da, dee, dum, dum, deem, and then it keeps going, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and finally one more time, and 1. So in this case, what you've done is you've showed the left hand coming up and down, but then when you get into the second one, I'm going to suggest that you actually don't bring your left hand in, but just to get bigger with your right hand, showing the intensity as it pulls up in more in bars 4, 5, 6, and then for the final couple of bars, then you add in the left hand to make that work. So there's different ways of adding the left hand to show the dynamic and showing the phrasing without necessarily just crafting the whole thing and kind of going along for a ride, but putting it in at specific spots. And these are some spots that I'd like you to try that kind of thing exactly. So talking about cueing then, there's really only one exercise that I put into the mix to get started, and that's 427, because I want you to work on some other exercises in addition to that we can apply later. But initially, I'm just going to say that cueing comes down to one fundamental that has 3 parts. So the fundamental is that any cue can look just like a slice of what your right hand would be doing if it is in character. This is not just a time beating right hand, but this would be something that is showing the music already, and then your left hand is just assisting that music to a specific section or player. So if I'm conducting in a legato style, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can take a slice of that beat pattern anywhere I want and put in a cue. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, lift, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, lift, 4. 1, 2, 3, lift, 4, 1. So after the beat point, both hands come up and prepare and come down together. Now it's different if things are going on with the right hand stylistically that are different than the left hand. That's a different thing, but we're not tackling that this week. Instead, what I'd like you to do is just simply take those patterns with the different styles and create a cue gesture that rotates through the various things. So if we're doing a staccato, then it's going to be lift, 1, 2, 3, lift, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those will just come on different beats as you work through the thing. And the last little part of that is after you've kind of figured that out, then the next thing is going to be to place those cues at different positions within your room, wherever you want to do. You want to make sure that, again, as in basic conducting, you've got good eye contact before you do the cue. You want to make sure that there's a good preparation. We've talked about doing that as just coming up in the style, and then a follow through with the cue gesture to the player. Those kinds of things. Now, what you've got in exercise 427, Blessed Are They of Brahms, is just a couple of quick cues in the first 2 bars for the altos and then for the sopranos. And then as it winds down, this will give you a chance to reinforce that cut and cue gesture that we did before. I'm sorry, the release and the breath gesture before the last note, and then taking the fermata and showing the diminuendo with that. But on the cueing, you'll just want to get yourself set up so that you've got your first count for the downbeat and then cueing at count 2 somewhere in the room. I'm actually going to go over to about there. So here's where I'm set up, and I just say, there's 1. Whoops, I went the wrong direction. I need to go over to my right. Oh, this is weird doing it backwards. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So you're setting up as in, and then 2, 3, 4, 1. And then to the next group, 2, 3, 4. So directionalize that to the sopranos. That will be to your, to the altos, that'll be to your left, and then the sopranos, that'll be to your further left, and you, again, can just come down 1 with your right hand. I'll show again. So there's a piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Sopranos, 3, 4, 1. And now we're going to taper this down. And there's the second to the last bar, and here's where we practice that again. Settle, lift, 1. And there's a fermata. So, those are the exercises. Those are the fundamentals, taking a look at some basic cue gestures and practicing that rotation exercise, and then also looking for a phrasing type of conducting that shows where the goal note is. Those are the 2 things for this week. Thanks again for being flexible about watching the video rather than being in class directly. If you've got some questions, give me a call or send me a text, and I'm happy to answer these things. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you very soon.